Hello everyone and welcome to the Minish Recap, the show where we talk about gaming news in 10 minutes or less. I am HextupleyooDOT, your host, and with me today is Spigel.
Spigel in the house.
Spigel. So today we're going to be talking about a sad subject, at least for some people. Sega recently announced, in fact I think it was as recently as this morning, is that they are doing a massive restructuring of their company. Essentially, they're letting go of 300 employees, and they're moving their corporate headquarters in the United States from San Francisco to SoCal because they can no longer afford, I guess, the operating expenses of being in San Francisco, is what I assume.
Well, let's be fair. Nobody can afford the operating expenses of being in San Francisco.
That is true.
Like there's a number of companies there that just probably should just move. IGN is one of them.
Oh, do you think so?
Look, I've been there, and it's just like they had a 4-story office building, and then they scaled it down to just 1 story because they just couldn't afford the rest of the space. So,
right.
Anyway, so long story short, San Francisco is very expensive to operate a business in. Very high city tax. Sega let go of 300 employees. To put
that in perspective, reportedly they had 2,200 employees at the end of the 2013 fiscal year. So they're down to 1,000 something, like the high 1,000s, which is
that's more than
a pretty
10%.
big chunk. Yeah,
that's like 15% of your employees there.
And I mean, we can put this in the context of like the recent games that they've been putting out, which everyone knows about Sonic Boom if you've been listening to anything on our channel. And
what's that?
What is that exactly? That is literally, what is that? It's not even a game. But another game that they recently put out did fairly well, actually. Was it
Alien Isolation?
Yes, Alien Isolation.
Yeah. And that game sold fairly well, but it was kind of offset by how terribly Sonic Boom did. I don't think it's reached 100,000 units sold yet. That's a disaster for and this
really
sucks for
100,000 they haven't even hit.
This sucks for Nintendo too, because they promoted this game fairly heavily. They promoted this over Bayonetta 2, and that's just a crime. And Bayonetta has sold more than Sonic Boom, but still, it's embarrassing, really. For everyone involved, Sonic Boom is an embarrassment. And I don't want to say that's what caused these layoffs, but I think it sort of set off a chain reaction within Sega. They know now that they needed to do something different.
Right.
And this is their attempt at doing it.
So, I mean, what they're doing now is they're basically cutting off all physical distribution, right? They're going all digital and focusing on PC and mobile?
This quote that I have here says, local organizations managing packaged game software in Western markets will be streamlined, which basically means no more packaged game software. That's what I'm reading in.
Right,
that.
Which sounds like physical to me.
And this article says they intend to alter operations to focus on mobile and online PC games, which it deems to be its growth areas. So from the sound of it, as it also says, as well as Sonic and merchandise businesses, which is basically the Sonic Boom TV show and things that come off of that. But I mean, this is the end of, effectively, I don't want to say the end of, but Sega has made so many classic franchises in the past that are probably never going to see the light of day again now. Definitely not on a console.
Not anything but their gigantic ones, you know. I mean, they've been putting a lot of Sonic games and Super Monkey Ball games on mobile these days, so that I'm assuming that's where they're actually seeing some profit, since the mobile space is really lucrative if you're able to tap into it properly. I mean, Crazy Taxi actually got put on mobile too.
It did, yeah. But I'm talking about more the more classic franchises, say goodbye to Nights into Dreams, say goodbye to Jet Set Radio. These games aren't going to see.
Oh, certainly not. Especially those are cult classics.
Yeah, they're not going to see future releases on a mobile device just because it probably just wouldn't work that well.
Right.
And even if it did, who would buy Jet Set Radio who's grown up on mobile gaming? Nobody even knows what that is anymore. You know, so that's.
I mean, essentially, if this is a move for them to try to turn things around, maybe they'll be able to get themselves back into a position where they can put out games like that again. But for now, I mean, they're hanging by a thread at this point. I mean, to put things in perspective, a little bit of history recap. Sega, after the Saturn, that's when things really started to go downhill.
You could argue before that.
Probably.
With the way they tried to extend the Genesis's lifespan.
True. Yeah.
And all that stuff.
But then they went third party during the Xbox, GameCube, PS2 gen, and then, I mean, what are they now? They're a shadow of their former selves. So
they're not even a shadow. They're like
they're not even a shadow. They're like a Silver the Hedgehog of their former selves.
Oh,
that's terrible. Why did I made a joke? Physically. I shouldn't have done that. Anyway, I mean, what are your thoughts on? You said you had some thoughts on.
Well, I mean, I guess the one thing that concerns me about this is, like, I see Sega going down this path of kind of destruction. Like, they just kind of started going downhill, and they just never recovered from it. And like, I've never been a huge Sega guy, so of course I'm going to find a way to spin this Nintendo. Like, I see Nintendo potentially, like, heading down that path too, and, like, they're kind of going in the same direction. And I don't want to, like, sound the alarm bells, Nintendo-doomed and everything.
Right.
But, well, like, you can draw parallels between the two, for sure.
You can, to an extent, but I really think they're two pretty different situations. Just because Nintendo's been managing their finances so much better. I mean, they've been saving up.
It also helps they have more than one successful, like, all-time franchise.
Yeah,
like,
more than one actual. They actually have more than 0 successful franchises. Oh, shots fired.
They have more blast processing, and Genesis does what Nintendo don't, and catchy marketing, and, you know, all this stuff. You know, they've got Mario. They've got Pokemon is really the big one. Pokemon could probably keep Nintendo in business forever. Just that.
That's true.
But back to the original topic.
I mean, do you think this is reflective of the way things are going for Japanese developers on the whole? I mean, Nintendo is, I think, in my perspective, they're actually the exceptions to how poorly the Japanese video game market is doing in the West.
You mean aside from niche, like, JRPG companies like Square Enix and...
Yeah, I mean, they're giants. I mean, the giants are still doing relatively well, but Sega has kind of fallen out of that category. Capcom, I don't know how well they're doing.
Not well. They haven't made a good game since Resident Evil 4, probably.
Right. So, and I mean, we all know that Mega Man's been missing for a while until Smash Brothers. So, what's to come of the rest of the Japanese industry? I mean,
I'm not sure if it's like a Western sensibility or something that's sort of taking over the world, because all these games, like, even like games like Monster Hunter, still sell very well. And, like, unbelievably well, really, in Japan. Monster Hunter, Yokai Watch, and one of those other like random Vita games that come out over there and sell hundreds of thousands of copies in, like, on the first day. So I don't think Japanese publishers are in danger in Japan. But as for the Western market, I don't really know where it's headed, and it has to be seen. I don't know if it's because Sega's a Japanese company that they failed. I think it has to do more with questionable
their properties. I mean, like, Capcom still has their strong properties. Monster Hunter is pretty big, and even in the West, as well as some of their other properties. Street Fighter is pretty big.
I'm sorry. Does Capcom own Monster Hunter?
Yeah, it's a Capcom franchise.
Okay, then forgive the haven't made a good game since Resident Evil 4 thing. I totally forgot that they own that. Okay, I thought that was like... Why did I think that was like Activision? I don't know. I'm stupid.
Remember Mega Man Cat?
Oh, yeah, Mega Man Cat. I forgot about that. All right, well.
Well, I mean, we're coming up on the end of this episode now, but, I mean, share your thoughts in the comments if you have any ideas on why you think Sega's in this position and what they could possibly do to get out of it.
And definitely, like, you know, talk about, if you're going to leave a comment, talk about, like, you know, what Sega games that you'd like to see on a mobile device that you think would work in the future if you're into that.
True. Yeah. Well, it's been a fun Minish recap, and thank you guys for listening. I am your host, HextupleyooDOT, and with me was Spiegelwee, and say goodnight, Spieg.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That wasn't very good night.
Bad night.
Bye, guys.
Rip Sega.